Okay, hello again, everyone. So, just want to say quick thank you for the support on the Tifa and Cloud video, because I didn't really expect it to go anywhere. I thought it was just going to be me throwing my passionate ramblings out into the universe, but surprisingly got a lot of feedback, way more than I thought. Really encouraging stuff. People agreeing with what I was saying, and by no means do I think I'm any expert on character development or good character writing or anything. All I know is that this is like more or less my favorite game, and in my opinion, these are the best characters in a video game. So I just I like to talk about them. That's pretty much it. So it kind of got me wanting to make some videos on characters individually, and the first one I want to look at is Aerith. Why I chose Aerith first is she is probably, for me personally, the most improved from the original in Remake. So I do want to say a lot of the things that make Aerith better for me. Some of them are, just because of the time, right? In Remake we have we can see emotion through voice, body language, and facial expressions. And, honestly, some of those are the biggest reasons for why I think Aerith is become such a more loved character. I think in the OG, she's like faultlessly strong, right? Or certainly seems it, despite having certain things. She always comes across as this faultlessly strong character. And in the remake, we get to see the cracks in that strength, right? Which is, we don't get to. It's rare that we get to see Aerith look like her composure breaks or she looks fragile, and I think those are really appealing parts to her character that I latch onto on characters. Whenever they show this human element to them, I enjoy that. So the best way I can kind of put it is we get to see more of Aerith the girl as opposed to Aerith the ancient, if that makes sense. We get to see her every day as opposed to just, Aerith existing for the planet's purposes and shit like that. Which is, I love that kind of stuff. So, as I say, in the original, my favourite characters were probably like Cloud, Tifa, Barrett, Red, Vincent. Not in any particular order there, probably like Cloud and Tifa at the top, and then the rest. And then below that would be Aerith. So, because I've always seen her as like this super pure character, right? Super pure, can't really do anything wrong. Like the first time we meet her is in a church. She's watching over the flowers. It's later revealed that flowers only grow in Midgar in that area of the church and at Aerith's house. So, like, already my perception is like, oh, this character is like some miraculous being or something. Which I've never liked the perfect character. Never latch onto those. I think those are the kind of things that contributed to why I couldn't latch onto her like I did the others. I was still absolutely gobsmacked and upset about what happens at the end of at the Temple of the Ancients. But if I'm being completely honest, I do think that a large part of what makes her death so impactful is no one believed it was going to happen, right? Our super important character, the last of her kind, we finally caught up to her. We finally found her. She's going to give us the answers, and we're going to find out how to beat Sephiroth and save the planet. And then boom, she's gone. I don't think anyone was expecting that to happen, and I think that's why it's held in such a high regard as being it's one of the most impactful, if not the most impactful, death in video games. I think now it's like I can't even imagine how much it's going to crush people, because they've made the characters so much better. So to go on about what I love about the characters, I think a lot of the characters in Final Fantasy VII are extremely flawed, and they're very human feeling. Like, relatability is amazing, right? Like, that's what makes us latch on and love characters. I think one of the most painfully relatable things is when Cloud's young and he says, he wants to go off and be a hero. He believes himself to be more special than he is. So he goes there and he goes, I want to do this. They put him through the trial and he's told he's not capable. Like that kind of shit hits, right? And And that's kind of one of the things in the original that I couldn't do that with Aerith. I just didn't find the character too relatable. She's extremely optimistic, very joyful, which are great. They're fun parts of her character, but not anything as much as like what I just mentioned with Cloud. But now my opinion of her would be this. She's a quirky girl, which is always how she's been. But now I view her at first glance as pure on the outside. She has this amazing roughness to her, which has made the character shine way, way more. She's joyful without being too annoyingly joyful. She's stubborn to a fault, as we see when she goes to the Cloud to Wall Market. She's sassy, and she likes to tease, and it's all in an endearing way. And the way she teases isn't the same that the way Jessie teases. It's in a way where it's like when we're running along the rooftops after leaving the church after being pursued by the Turks, and Aerith's like taking the piss out of Cloud, saying that maybe the Turks came to her because she's a super candidate for soldier, and that's why they wanted to recruit her. She even manages to get a rise out of Cloud when when she's waiting for Cloud to do when she's trying to do the hop between the two roofs, and Cloud takes the piss saying, "Oh, a soldier wouldn't say that kind of thing," and then she calls him petty. Like, she manages to get a rise out of him. She curses. Aerith curses. I didn't think we'd ever hear Aerith saying shit, but it doesn't sound weird. It sounds natural. And looking from like the perspective from her perspective, she's been around this area for a really long time, and in this game it feels that way. You can absolutely tell that she spent a large amount of her life living in this area. She doesn't get scared when the ladder breaks. The way I interpreted the way she said shit was kind of like this is a bit inconvenient, shit. It's not like she's, scared she's going to fall and die. This has probably happened to her a couple times in the past where she's walked over something and it's crumbled under her foot, or she's lost grip of something. She's grown up in the area and she's used to it. And I love that kind of thing. It just adds to her so much more. And this continues when just a bit after this, when you're tightroping across the pipe, and Aerith pretends to lose her balance, and then Cloud comes in to help, and she says, she corrects herself and she says, "Gotcha." Like, you can tell that Aerith just loves living, right? And that bit's it's so good. It's so good. And I think in contrast to the slightly rougher parts of Aerith's character, or well, not rougher, but you know what I mean. You have to keep what makes Aerith from the original, and that's obviously the purer side. And they've done it in a way where it's not just like from the planet's perspective. We get to see it from the people's perspective in Sector 5. When we get back there, everyone knows who she is. The kids all know her, the orphanage workers all know her and rely on her for the flowers. The restaurant worker asks if she can help out. It's like we get to see the impact of this character from the perspective of people that just live with her, everyday people. I like to see, as I said at the start, I like to see Aerith the character and Aerith the girl, not just Aerith the ancient. And you can even tell from like the Turks, like they seem somewhat regretful having to even pursue her. She's so decisive, like to the point of stubbornly decisive. When Cloud goes after Tifa on her way to Corneo, she obviously tells him that go back to Sector 7, let them know you're all okay. She'll be fine here, don't worry about her. Without having to have met Tifa, Aerith makes the decision, no, this is what we need to do. I know what this area is like, and no matter what, how strong she is or how capable she thinks, or Tifa thinks she is, Corneo will do something to turn that on her. And just before this, there's when you're heading to the secret passageway to get to Sector 7, you come across Wall Market in the distance, and Aerith warns you about it. It runs by its own rules, and be careful if you're going to go over there. So even knowing all of that, she goes with him. She doesn't just say, "Oh, Cloud, you should do this." She says, "Cloud, we're going." Like, what a fucking character, dude. I love that shit. And with regards to the darker bits to Aerith as well. You know, when we know that Shinra want her because she's a Cetra, and it was quite insane seeing, you know, when Hojo goes off about what he did to her mum. You know, even in death, he collected up every part, he dissected everything, you know, calling her like a cellular masterpiece. Skin, bones, organs, anything was on the table for Hojo. And regardless of how strong Aerith is, can you imagine how painful that would be? And, you know, she stays determined and her composure stays really strong. And then as Hojo leaves, we see it break. And for me, Aerith has always been the picture of strength in Final Fantasy VII. And to see her suffer from that kind of thing is like, you know, it's heart-wrenching. And that's the kind of stuff that's got me more with Aerith. It's that kind of stuff. You get to see it now. And, you know, when she's explaining her Cetra heritage at Shinra HQ to the party, she talks about how every time the Whispers touch her, she loses a part of herself. Now, this is obviously a bit theory diving here. So if I'm correct, and she is being given information from the planet about future events, then maybe when she's saying that they're taking a part of her, it's because she's alluding to the fact that the Whispers, or maybe she sees something whenever they touch her, or their constant reminder for, you know, her impending death. And, you know, when she mentions that, that's like, you feel genuinely awful. Like, that part hurts. And this is why I call her the picture of strength in this game, is she pushes forward for her friends and the planet, despite knowing what's going to happen. Like, if Sephiroth knows all of this and Aerith knows all of this, they're the only two characters that know what's going to happen, and yet Aerith still pushes on forward. It's crushing. It's crushing. Like, can you imagine how heavy that would be? And, you know, you then, if you get her resolution scene in chapter 14, it kind of makes you think, oh god, maybe what she is saying here is true. You know, because she says, whatever you do, don't fall in love with me. Why would she say that? Because she knows she's going to die, and the last thing she would want is for Cloud, someone extremely beloved to her, would hurt even more. And I think diving into relationships a bit more, because I know a lot of people are on the Tifa train, right? Obviously, it's still split. You know, the war will always go on between, you know, the two waifus. But a lot of people are saying that, you know, they didn't think Aerith got as much in this game. Or maybe the focus is more on Tifa. And I do think we have to remember that these games are more fleshed out. So I think we'll see a more organic progression of their relationship between Aerith and Cloud. You know, they've only known each other for what, like 2 days? 2 days by the time at the end of the game. Maybe 3. I'm not entirely sure. Not long. And, you know, if I have to give my opinion, I am very much strongly on the Tifa train. If we're talking about a ship, if we have to ship, I'm very much on the Tifa train. For me personally, it makes more sense. I like how their stories are connected, and I've always viewed Cloud as having like these two sides to him, right? He's got this darkness to him, which is Sephiroth always trying to pull him in, and you could kind of link that to, you know, literally, Sephiroth is, you know, manipulates him through Genova cells, and Tifa is kind of like his light that always manages to pull him back. So if you had to ask me, I would say that, but I still love Aerith. I think she's a great character, regardless of, you know, which side of the agenda you're on. However, we cannot deny Aerith's fucking adorable, and I do genuinely enjoy her interactions with Cloud. Cloud always maintains an extremely icy exterior with every character, right? And besides Tifa, who he kind of shatters with, as I mentioned in the other, and you can even tell, like, if you go into like combat dialogue, like his options when Tifa gets, you know, when Tifa goes down, are crazy in comparison to other characters. So stuff like that always leads you towards it, but I do love the interactions between Cloud and Aerith. She always manages to shrug off Cloud's edgy, cool exterior, keeps up her like playful attitude. It's like her enjoyment in life. She is constantly trying to help others enjoy it as much as she does. And I think that's an unbelievably wonderful part about her character, right? And if fate plays out the same way, it's one of the most brutal parts about her character. You know, if things go down the same path as the original, then the fact that she is just this ball of happiness and tries to spread happiness wherever she goes to whoever she meets, kind of makes it, you know, God, it sucks. And considering how much more fleshed out these games will be, as I say, they're only going to grow. I think the relationship between the two, we'll see it more. You know, maybe we'll see some kind of, you know, rivalry between Tifa and Aerith, as long as it doesn't get too silly and start taking away from the serious tone of what the game is. I'd be perfectly fine with that. But we do start to see the kind of beginnings of the Cloud and Aerith relationship. You know, in the playground, and she comments on how much she likes his eyes, and you know, you could show this back as to being a callback to the whole Zack stuff, but you know, I do think that Aerith's infatuation with Cloud is genuine. I don't think it's all because he's a shell of Zack. That's ridiculous. Because you know, you even see it in back at Aerith's house before this, when Aerith's talking to the flowers, and you see Cloud says, and she doesn't see it, or well, she does see it, but she doesn't hear what he says. And Cloud asks the flowers to learn to talk to her. This is probably one of my favorite scenes in the game. I fucking love it. You know, Cloud doesn't show that soft side. I mean, he barely shows it to her there. And then when she asks if the flower had said anything, and he actually responds with, "Oh, they said good work today." Like, can you imagine at the start of the game if Cloud had done that and she'd asked, he'd been like, "Nothing. They said nothing." You know, you get to see the beginnings of the bond between the two, and I like that. I like it a lot. With regards to Tifa, because this is one of my favorite new things in this game, is I fucking adore the growing friendship between Aerith and Tifa. It's become one of my absolute favorite things in Remake. They're building this sense of like camaraderie between the two, and they back each other up like so well. Because Tifa is the kind of character, right, that constantly pushes her own problems to the side, believing that they aren't as important as someone else is. But Aerith will always make sure that she isn't just like suffering silently. She'll constantly reassure her, try and, you know, put her worries at ease. And, you know, we see this after Corneo, when he mentions that they're going to drop the plate. She's constantly filled with this sense of anxiety of like, oh my god, is what he said even true? And Aerith's constantly trying to help calm her nerves, get her to think positively, you know, think what we're going to do afterwards, after this is all solved. And this isn't a one-way thing. This is mirrored. When we're in the train graveyard, Aerith gets whisked away by the ghosts. We see a vision of herself, of Aerith being like forgotten and alone, and then Cloud and Tifa arrive to save her. Cloud doesn't really say anything. He's just like, "Oh, what's the situation?" And Tifa says the perfect words. "I found you." You know, like they're building this relationship between the two, which is just so good. It's so good. And then even, you know, at the bit where she's explaining her heritage, when she says that she feels like she's lost in a maze. Every time they touch her, they're taking a part of her. Tifa's the one who pulls her out of that and says, "We'll find a way out together." Oh, it's such a wonderful relationship. I fucking love it. I want so much more of that. You know, fuck the ships. Fuck it. The only ship I'm on is Aerith and Tifa. Cloud can do his own thing. Go and ship up with Sephiroth for like, "Hey man, I want this one. This it's fucking adorable." And I think to wrap it up, kind of the worst part about all of this, it's like it goes hand in hand with it being the best part, is with all of these growing relationships between the characters, like we're seeing more of everyone interacting with everyone, right? It's not all everyone interacting with Cloud. We're seeing Aerith and Cloud, we're seeing Tifa and Cloud, we're seeing Barrett and Cloud, and we're seeing all the other characters together as well. We're seeing Aerith and Tifa's growing relationship. Aerith just saved Marlene from, you know, Sector 7 being crushed, so you know Barrett's going to feel indebted to her. We don't know how much. I mean, we only see a little bit of Red at the moment, but you know, if Red knows, if when she touches Red and Red learns things, if he, depending on how much he knows, he could blame himself for, you know, not being able to save something he knew was coming, which I'm alluding to her death, by the way. And you know, when we're getting all these characters becoming like closer to one another, and we're seeing it on screen, can you imagine how much this is gonna hurt? Like, the character Aerith has grown on me so much. Like, I love her to pieces, man, and I get genuine feelings of anxiety imagining how the next game is gonna play out. Like, this character has been fleshed out so much. I'm actually terrified to let her go. Like, I really, really hope there is a way that we can save her in the next game. And like, my worst fear is that we get Steins-gated, and it's like in every scenario, regardless of how many events we know, she gets got anyway. Like, dude, Jesse's death had me out of commission for like 30 minutes. I had to take a break from the game, step away, compose myself. If the same shit happens with Aerith, dude, I'm scared. I'm scared, man. Like, fuck. Why is this game so fucking good? Shit. You guys ever watch Violet Evergarden? You know, episode 10 with Anne, and you recall it, and it gets you choked up. But I haven't even seen what's gonna happen, and I'm like, oh, I can feel it there. You know, fuck. Love this game. These characters are the best. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's gonna be it for this one. That's kind of, you know, there's probably more. There's maybe some things I've missed out about why Aerith is so fucking great in this game. But you know, please comment, like, let me know what you guys like about the character. If there's anything I missed, please do mention it. I remember mentioning in the last video, I forgot the fucking the Tifa at the bar scene where Cloud says beautiful to Tifa, essentially. So thank you for reminding that, the person in the comments. I do appreciate that. Yeah, if you do like this, please comment, like, do whatever, share it with your friends. And that'll be it. Yeah, I'll maybe Tifa, maybe Barrett next time. Alright, peace.